Look at that. That's what I'm talking about. Yes. All right. Shirts. Hey, what's up, everybody? Trey Griggs here, Beta Consulting Group, and you're here for episode 91 of Standing Out, a daily podcast about sales, marketing, and leadership powered by Beta Consulting Group. I cannot wait for a couple weeks. We're going to hit episode 100. It's going to be a great episode. Can't wait for that as well. So thank you so much for being a part of this. Thank you for watching. And for those that are watching the show today, tell us where you're coming from today in the comments. We'd love to hear where you are coming from. If you do me a favor, go ahead and check us out at betaconsultinggroup.com. See how we're helping companies tell their stories, their messaging, their branding, their content creation. It's all about telling a story. We love doing that with our clients. We'd love to work with you as well. And you'll notice at the top of the homepage there's a banner that says that our swag store is now open. Of course, we got a swag store with some cool stuff like this water bottle, this standing out water bottle, very cool stuff like that. So check out the swag store at shop.betaconsultinggroup.com. We got coffee mugs, t-shirts, hats, all kinds of fun stuff for this program, as well as word on the street and my personal cartoon, which I don't know why anybody wear my face on a shirt, but why not? You know, might as well give that a shot. We got a coupon for you. It's our grand opening this month. So use the coupon code beta-GO and you'll get 30% off your entire order here as we get the store up and running. We'd love for you to be a part of our community of people that are pursuing excellence daily, and just trying to be better in everything that you do. That's what we're all about here at Beta Consulting Group. Also want to give a shout out to our sponsor, to TAFS. These are the good guys in freight factoring. They are helping carriers have all the resources that they need to keep those wheels turning. Discounts on fuel and tires and insurance and all kinds of other things, small business loans, and of course, factoring to keep that cash flow going. So check them out at TAFS.com. Or if you're an owner operator, you got a small fleet, click on that link in the comments that Morgan's going to put on there. That's going to take you directly to my landing page so they know that I sent you, and you can get started with them today. And if you're a freight broker or freight forwarder, you can also work with TAFS as a referral partner. Make sure that your carriers have all the resources they need in an up economy or a down economy. Keep those wheels turning and keep your freight moving. Just click on that link and you can get started with them today. All right. We've had a great week of shows and I'm super excited about today's show. I've been looking forward to this one ever since I got this guy booked on the show. I had a chance to meet him about a year ago. We're going to talk about all of that, but this guy's phenomenal as a leader, as a CEO, and as a friend. So please welcome to the show, my good friend, the CEO of Red Stag Fulfillment, Dusty Holcomb. Hey, Dusty, what's up, man? How you doing?
Hey, Trey, thrilled to be here. Thanks so much. Good to see you.
I am so excited. I'm just going to cut you off all day. I'm so excited that you were on the program. We met about it was probably a year ago. It was last summer, I think. Correct?
Yeah, it was last summer.
You had just taken over the role of CEO at Red Stag, I believe, like in April or March, somewhere in that time frame. And we had the chance to meet in the summer. And I remember from our first conversation that you were the kind of guy that I knew I wanted in my life, that I wanted to be around, that I wanted to be friends with, that I wanted to get your time as much as I could. Take a moment real quick for those that maybe who don't know who you are, just a little bit about yourself and about what you guys do at Red Stag.
Yeah, so I'll talk more about Red Stag than myself. I'm not really good at self-promoting, but I'm CEO at Red Stag Fulfillment. We're an e-commerce fulfillment organization. We've got about 1.4 million square feet of warehouse space, and we serve and service direct-to-consumer e-commerce merchants who are trying to build brands, and build something special. And that's really our purpose. Our purpose statement is to help build something special, and that's for our clients, our company, our team members, and our communities that we serve. So I'm privileged to serve our herd, as we call our team. I've been there just over a year now, and it's the greatest honor in the world to be able to impact the lives of others and see how you can make a difference in helping them achieve their goals and their their dreams. So, what's cool about Met is actually, I remember having this video chat, and you're in the back of the RV and it's shaking. You may have been in the bathroom. I'm not real sure if it was the closet. But you were on your way to Boston, and you were with the kids, and you were doing this like deep dive of history. And so there's like, you can read about it in the book, and then you can see it. And I remember that was such a cool way you were framing that with your kids and this time you're getting with them. So kudos to you for not just letting them read about history, but actually showing it to them.
Well, I will clarify, I was not in the bathroom. We had a little table back there. It was next to the bathroom, but I was not in the bathroom. But we decided that we wanted our kids to see history where it happened and not just read about it or watch videos. And it was a great experience. It was a great trip. We're going to take some more of those. I've had the good fortune of taking my kids to 41 states so far. We got 9 to go to get to 50 before they graduate. So it was a really fun trip. But I want to go back to what you talked about. First of all, I love the fact that you call your company the Herd. Like that's such a great community driver for your team. That, hey, I'm a part of the Herd. I love seeing your social media posts whenever you put that out there. But more importantly than that is I love your heart for serving your people and seeing your role as CEO as the chief servant officer, as the one who's really like in charge of making sure that your team has what they need, that everybody's taken care of, that they're cared for, that they have the tools and the resources to be successful. Where did that come from in your kind of evolution into leadership of seeing this role not as, hey, you're here to serve me, but actually as, I'm here to serve you. I work for you.
Yeah, so I had the distinct privilege of having a mentor very early in my career who introduced me to servant leadership. And I've written about him on my blog in the past, but he was a retired colonel, West Point guy. And, what he taught me was, as a leader, your obligation is to the people that you serve. And in his case, it was his soldiers. And in my case, I didn't have the honor or privilege of serving, but what I did have, or at least in serving our country, but I did have is the honor and privilege of serving other people. And so that was, maybe I was 21 or 22 years old. And that was just this most profound inflection point. There's points in your life where you get a 2-degree, course adjustment. And then the next thing, over the 20, 25, 30 years, you are hundreds of miles from where you would have been without that. And so I had that teaching moment from him, and it was this: your job is to serve your team members. You work for them. Your job is to make sure that you have, or that they have, whatever they need in order to be successful. And that can be direction, vision, training, resources, pat on the head, kick in the rear, whatever it is. And that was really, really profound for me, and it's been something that I've only sought to improve on over time. And it's part of the reason that I love the study of leadership so much. Is you can't ever arrive. You always have to get better. There's always learning. And so it was just, I've told Greg several times over the last 20 years, 25 years since that happened, since he introduced the concept to me, that, it's the greatest, gift I've ever been given.
Yeah, and I love that, like success is, there's no finish line to success. There's no finish line to excellence. There's no finish line to a healthy marriage. There's no finish line to great leadership. I love that you frame it like that. And that was a real interesting way to talk about it as well. A 2-degree course correction has a drastic change over time. And for, where you are now versus where maybe you would have been had you not received that little nugget of information that has really gone a long way. I mean, that's so powerful. When you think about that, how does that impact you in terms of like trying to help other people in their leadership journey, and where they're headed?
Yeah, I think the challenge when you're talking about leadership, it's easy to try to, come from on high with all this stuff, like reams of information, and you should do, and you should do. And it's like, well, you can't do everything at once. Just do the one thing and help people recognize that. What I really try to work with our team is instilling a self-leadership perspective. You can't serve others unless you're leading yourself. And so you have to really put the discipline in to lead yourself first, and then you can be effective at leading others. So, back to your question, you just can't do everything at once, and you have to help someone else identify that thing for themselves so that they can lead themselves. And for me, that's through servant leadership. My personal mission statement is to enable success in others. And so when I work with the team member, I'm constantly going, all right, so but what do you see that I can get better at? How am I improving or here? And let's just work on the one thing that allows you to grab that nugget and move forward with it and lead yourself.
Yeah, and that's so true. We're our worst followers sometimes. Like we're terrible at leading ourselves sometimes. That's where it all starts. And if we don't lead ourselves, then we will follow something. We could follow, wasting time on social media or watching, endless movies, or we'll follow maybe people into bad habits or whatever it might be. So having that discipline to lead yourself is really where it starts. And becoming a good follower of yourself and of your mind and the choices that you make, that kind of starts the whole process, which is so
Yeah,
powerful.
it really is. And it's, I have this mantra that I kind of repeat to myself all the time. And, those that I work with, are probably sick and tired of hearing it. And they're like, yeah, we get it, Dusty. And it's like, I believe that there's two types of people, those that happen to the world and those to whom the world happens to. And so you have to make a choice. You have to decide, are you going to happen to the world, or are you going to let the world happen to you? And that, those are disciplined choices around, what content you consume and how much time you spend on certain things versus reading or whatever it is you're trying to do. And so that goes back to leadership, and it goes back to self-leadership and how you show up each and every day and allow yourself to fail. I probably failed 25 times already today. So, a few dozen more and I'll have a good day.
That's the key to success. Absolutely. When you said that earlier about the types of people in the world, it took me back to my high school basketball days. My coach used to say there were three types of people in life. There are people that watch what happened, people that make things happen, and then people that wonder what the heck just happened.
Yeah, I like that.
I thought that was kind of fun. Always made us laugh a little bit. But yeah, you got to be the kind of person that's going to go make something happen. Go get it done and go make it happen, which is really critical. Now you've been doing that now at Red Stag. I remember when you joined Red Stag, it was probably what we would call for maybe a baseball team. You guys were rebuilding. It's probably the right word for that. And part of your job at the time was to get the right people in place to be a part of the Red Stag team to be successful. And you talked a lot about that whenever we had some of our first conversations, just kind of getting to know what you were doing. What has that process been like in terms of, and how critical is that to find the right people for the right job to fit, the culture and the vision of what you guys are doing?
Yeah, and so I like the way you frame that. It's rebuilding. I might reposition that a little bit to say, we'd won a championship game, and so what we were trying to do, and what we're now have been focused on, what I was, kind of brought to help was, well, how do we go from winning a championship to creating a dynasty, right? So how do we ensure that we're going to, win a bunch of these and really perpetuate something special over time? And ensure it's not a a flash in the pan or convert from one to many. So as I thought about that, and as I thought about what does it take to build a dynasty, of teams, it really comes down to culture, and it comes down to core values, and it comes down to clearly codifying what's important to you and to the organization, and ensuring that no matter what, those things are adhered to. So, I've done hundreds of interviews for talent and went searching for key roles that, were either gaps or opportunities for us to, have the starting pitcher for the next, 15 years in the seat. And no matter what, culture and core values was the knockout, right? So if someone's the smartest person on earth, they're the most technically competent, and they have all the experience in the world, like they could do the job exceptionally well, but they in any way don't pass the sniff test of culture and core values, and that's not just what they say, it's what they do, right? It's behavioral. Then it doesn't work. That's a knockout question. So I'm a firm believer in the Jim Collins, first who then what, and you've really got to get the who right. And I'd rather, there was one role I know I interviewed for 6 months, and just wasn't going to compromise, and I wasn't going to let the herd be subject to anyone who didn't have a shared passion and shared core values. And it was super cool this past year, during the holiday. So, Cyber Week, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, all that. Like most 3PLs, that's peak for us. Like that's the Super Bowl, that's the NBA Finals, that's everything all in that 1 week for our clients. So, we're an organization that's here to serve our clients. We're an e-commerce company that happens to do the heavy lifting of e-com. So for us, that is showing up and making sure our clients win and our clients are successful, which is really what it's all about. So I was super thrilled during that week that our brand new chief technology officer and our brand new CTO and our brand new chief people officer, they were alongside our herd members on Black Friday all day and on Cyber Monday all day, picking, packing, loading boxes, loading trucks. I mean, that's how we show up.
All hands
And
on
so
deck.
all
Yeah.
hands on deck, right? And somebody asked me, I was pushing boxes on the line at one point, and what are y'all doing? Why are y'all out here? And I'm not naive. I am no way saying that there wasn't a single package that got shipped over all of Cyber Week because I was there, because anyone else was there. We were not the incremental difference makers. But what I told them is, hey, look, when our clients need us, we all work outbound. We all do whatever it takes to make our clients successful. And I think it has a profound impact behaviorally. So linking back to your question, looking for people whose behaviors mirror their core values, that mirror our own as an organization, I think that's the litmus test, and it's an absolute non-negotiable.
Yeah, and when you have those core values, when you have that clear mission, that clear vision for your company, I mean, it's a North Star. It's a guiding light. And when anything is off of that, you know it. And it's real easy to recognize it. It's real easy to say no to that, and to have the discipline to say this isn't a good fit. We're not going to go down that road, because a bad hire, it really it can contaminate the whole company really quickly. And it's really challenging. So I love the fact that you do that. I think a lot of companies struggle with this. I think a lot of companies struggle with having clear mission, vision, and core values, not only creating them and thinking through what they are, but also communicating them, both
Mm.
internally with their team, but also externally as a source of marketing and recruiting, for future employees. How have you guys kind of taken that approach of taking your core values, your mission, your vision, and using that to build up your culture and to, market your company and recruit for new talent?
Yeah, I think, and so let me just start by saying I don't think we do a great job of it yet. I think we are getting better at it every single day, but that kind of goes back to my, we got to get better every day ethos. So I think if I look at it sort of a three-legged stool, there's the internal, there's the external, and then there's the absolute the buy-in, the people demonstrating it through their own behaviors. I think internally, we have 5 core values, and I think internally we do a really good job of connecting the dots between our core values and the desired behaviors and reinforcing those desired behaviors. It's not, hey, have a positive attitude. Well, somebody smiled today. It's like we get really specific, and we have, a whole bunch of exercises and shout outs and team building stuff that we do to connect. We've only recently really begun talking about our vision and starting to really preach our mission, so that everybody in the organization, I view one of my responsibilities and the responsibility of every leader in an organization is to make sure that everyone on their team can answer 3 questions. Where are we going? Why does it matter? Where do I fit in? And I think those are 3 questions
Say
that
those
are
again. That's
yeah.
really
So
good.
I think a leader's job is to ensure that everybody in their organization can answer 3 questions. Where are we going as a company? Why does it matter? Where do I fit in? What's my piece? And so, we've got to, that's part of the vision. That's part of the mission. That's part of the values. We got to communicate that. So we have to start with our leadership cadre, make sure they know those things, and then they can cast those things consistently. And so it's a process. Like I say, we're working at it. We're getting better at it every day. There's a lot of things we're going to continue to improve. But it's so important. And so you take that's like the internal, and then you have to market that. You have to just tell people that. And so, I get to talk to a lot of our new team members. Unfortunately, I don't get to every new hire class, but I do get to most of them. I try to talk to all of our team members all the time. And, I tell everybody, hey, these are our core values. These are our 5 core values. If that's not you, it's totally okay. But understand this is who we are. And if you don't demonstrate behaviors that are consistent with these 5 things, at some point you're going to run into a wall or a ceiling. And because that's who we are, that's what we believe, that's what we do, it's how we show up. So we try to be really verbose and explicit on the outside, telling people, hey, this is what we believe, this is who we are. And if that's not you, okay. But if it is you, come on in and learn more. And so the better job we do with that, the more consistent we do with that, the more effective that we can be. And again, we're not perfect. We have a long way to go, but it's all about making sure that people understand what we believe and that they can be part of that.
Yeah, that is so good. I love that. And Aaron, appreciate you watching the show. He says leadership should facilitate and ensure there's answers for those questions. Man, that's challenging me as a leader right now. Like, man, I don't know if my team could answer those questions. I don't know if I could answer those questions completely, like with clarity, with like certainty. So I think that's really powerful. I thought you were going to say, three questions: what's our mission statement? What's our vision statement? What are core values? Which is definitely good for everybody to know those things. But those questions were awesome. I agree with Aaron 100% on that. Aaron, thanks for watching the show. Appreciate that, man. No, that's so good. And I think about like biblically it says, "Man, where there's no vision, the people will perish." When you
Yep.
don't, as a leader, when you don't communicate that on a regular basis, where are we going? Why does it matter? And then just making sure everybody fits in. It's kind of along with the Jim Collins good to great, the bus analogy, right? Get the
Hmm.
right people on the bus, get the wrong people off the bus, but then make sure they're in the right seat on the bus for their skill set, for their passions. And when you do that, then you can figure out where you're going to go and how you're going to get there. And it's just really powerful to have those pieces put together.
Yeah, it is, and it's let's be real. It's not all kumbaya land. It's not easy to do
Right.
this.
Right.
It's hard. It takes there's somebody once told me that when you get tired of talking about something, it's just finally starting to sink in, and so you have to talk about it relentlessly, consistently, and over and over again. Because if you don't, it becomes a flash in the pan, or it doesn't stick, and people haven't seen it, and then you've got to just do it. You
Yeah.
can't just talk, you have to act it out.
So something I want to talk about too, because this really impressed me whenever we had the chance to first communicate. And it's been the same ever since when we get a chance to get on the phone. Is you're a man of faith. You incorporate that
Mhm.
into your business. That can be a challenge sometimes, but I know it's important. It's something that we've incorporated here. Our mission statement is to glorify God and make much of Him while helping each client build their brand. We've just built that into our DNA of who we are. Talk about how your faith has truly impacted how you lead, not only Red Stag, but in your family and in other areas where you get to be a leader.
Yeah, so for me, my faith is the cornerstone of what I believe. It's why I do what I do. I believe that God has asked me to serve the kingdom by serving others, and this is just He's given me gifts, so I'd be crazy not to leverage them. Um, how it's impacted me is when you have that pillar of faith to rely on. Um, it gives you those gut checks in the moments when you've got something really tough to deal with or tough to think through. I like to think about it through the lens of understanding scripture, and that you have to have a wide view lens and a narrow view lens. You have to understand that in the context of the time, what Jesus said meant this. And then you have to go wide and say, but in the context of what the New Testament means and what the whole Bible stitched together means, this is what the impact meant. So I bring that in from a leadership perspective, is that in the moment you're talking about one thing and you get focus on a very, very specific, and then you have to zoom out. And so I think great leaders are those who can navigate the zoom in and the zoom out all the time, and be able to maneuver that very, very effectively. So for me, my faith is part of that. It allows me to step back and zoom out, think about are my behaviors consistent with the walk towards the kingdom? Am I doing things that impact the lives of others in a positive and meaningful way? And so that's one thing. The other thing for me is kind of going back to servant leadership, and I'll come back to family in just a second. But servant leadership often gets a knock of its soft leadership. It goes back. It's kumbaya. It's sitting around the campfire, it's singing songs, and it's not that at all. Servant leadership is owning the fact that your purpose is to enable others, and sometimes that means fierce conversation. Sometimes that means ensuring that others are successful, and it may not be in your organization. It may not be here. And I think a lot of people overlook it, and they just think it's about being nice. And it's not. It's about being kind, and those are two entirely different things. To be nice is to be liked. To be kind is to serve. And so I think that where I bring that in from a faith-based thought is, there's a great story where Jesus goes into the temple, and he takes the time along the way to get rid of all the traitors and that were desecrating the temple, to braid a whip and go in there with violence. It wasn't always a turn the other cheek and just walk away from the trouble. It was when things matter and there's desecration, then you take the time to address it fiercely, and that's part of the biblical story. That's part of the Christian faith as well. So I think that is something that I use as an anchor to make sure that I am being kind and not nice in my leadership approach. From a faith-based perspective for my family, I just hope that my focus on trying to serve others, it shows up for my family, and I teach them through example. I'll be completely candid and honest. It's an area where I struggle because I don't say it's a balance, it's a tension. There's always a tension between how much energy you invest in what you do, and there's and who you do it for. And that's a tension that I struggle with personally every single day. Is it for my family, or is it for my team? Is it what the amount of time and effort I'm giving for work versus what I do for my family? So from a faith perspective, it's try to lift my eye off the ground in front of me and go back to that wide view lens. Hope that makes sense. A bit of a
No, it
ramble.
does. And there's a lot of tension. I was just talking to a friend of mine about that yesterday about, like making sure that I have time with my family, time with my kids and those types of things. But I can't give all my time to my kids because if I did, I couldn't provide. And if I'm
Right.
going to provide, it means they can't get all my time. And there's a tension there that's just like you're constantly trying to manage the tension of giving what my team needs, giving what my company needs, but also giving what my family needs, giving what my kids needs. And sometimes it's kind of skewed this way, and other times it's skewed that way. But it can't be all or nothing. It can't be one way or the other. And I think that's what makes it a challenge, is trying to get that tension right. I love the word tension. That's a much better word, I think, than balance, because you do feel the pull, right? It's pulled this way, pulled that way. It's really, really difficult. But something I want to jump back to real quick, because I think this is important for people to understand. When you allow your faith to help you lead, it certainly doesn't mean that you're going to be perfect. You're not going to get it right all the time. But I wonder this question: if Jesus was a CEO, what would he be like? Like, what kind of a CEO would he be like? And I think we get a picture of that when he's leading the disciples. I think we get a picture of that when, and how he led. But I'm reading a book right now called Doing Business by the Good Book. Have you heard of that?
I have not heard of that.
So
I'm going to add it to my list, though.
it's a phenomenal book. It's got 52 short chapters, so you could read one a week. It's really easy to read. But it's by a gentleman named David Stewart, who's the CEO of Worldwide Technologies, based right here in St. Louis. And he did this as a Bible study at church, and then he turned it into a book. But it talks about just some of the biblical principles that are so beneficial. And I'm glad you brought up kindness, because that's one that's actually getting some play right now in secular culture as well. Gary Vee is talking about kindness all the time, and how kindness is an undervalued characteristic in business, to win in business. That people don't think you can be kind and win. Like, there's a difference between being kind and like being uncompetitive or not being ambitious. You can be both. I mean, it's like, I remember playing basketball. You can be as competitive as you can be. When that whistle blows, you can help somebody up off the ground. Like, you can have both. You don't have to have just one or the other. And I think in business, it's good to kind of understand the balance between those two things of having kindness, giving people what they need in that moment, whether it's harsh word or word of encouragement, as opposed to being soft. And so I love the fact that you kind of bring that up and you talk about that in your business, which, again, when we first spoke, I was just floored just hearing you speak my language and talking about that. What are some of the kind of where are you going with Red Stag? What are some of the things on the horizon for you guys?
Yeah. So before I go there, there's something you said I want to unpack it a little bit.
Yeah.
I love the sports analogy, and when you're helping somebody else up, and versus the player who is there to win, and they're not, they turn away from the person on the ground. And I think that goes back to who you're playing for. Are you playing for yourself? Or are you playing for something bigger, something more important? Does it matter what other people think about you? If they think you're weak, if you help up another person, it's like, I don't play for that. I play for the results. I play for a bigger result. So I think it's a really good analogy. And I want to teach my kids good sportsmanship and all of those things, and make sure they know who they're playing for, and that their efforts aren't about them. Ultimately, it's about the difference they make. My daughter just made the all-star team in softball, and she's 13, and she was the last one picked for the team. And this is like the super coolest thing ever. And I'll 30 more seconds on it. She got picked because of her bench coach and because of her leadership skills, not because she's the best player, but because she works the hardest, she hustles, and she's a great influence on other kids. And I told her, I said, if you're going to get picked for a team, sweetie, that is the number one reason I want you to get picked for a team. I don't want it because you have the best arm. A lot of people have arms, but not a lot of people have character. So Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, you reminded me
No,
of that.
that's so good. I was just watching UFC for the first time this week. My friend Hayden Allred talked me into it, and I watched it, and I kind of learned a lot about all the aspects of it. But what was really cool was the respect that those guys have for each other when they're done. Like they're going in and trying to knock each other out. I mean, they're literally trying to make each other unconscious in what they're doing. But then when it's over, they have respect for each other, and it's a display of kindness in that arena that was amazing. I thought, man, that captures the attitude of business. Like you want to be competitive, you want to be ambitious, you want to go after it. But at the end of the day, how you treat people still matters.
It
It's
does, and it's
still
a
really
topic for
important.
another conversation. But I've got a lot of thoughts about the leadership as a dojo. So
Yeah,
that's super cool.
no, absolutely. And I mean, I can't believe we're out of time again. It goes so fast every week, every show. It's happened every time. Dusty, I really appreciate you being on the show. And more importantly, I appreciate your friendship and your mentorship of me. You've helped me tremendously. And I just can't thank you enough for that.
Likewise, it's a complete honor. Thank you, Trey.
Awesome. And we'll have you back on the show once again here and down the road. We'll talk more about that. And make sure you guys come back tomorrow for episode 92. My good friend Brooks McMahon from Convoy is going to be on talking about business development. It's going to be a great show tomorrow and every day at 10:30 a.m. Central for an episode of Standing Out, a daily podcast about sales, marketing, and leadership. I'm Trey Griggs. Be sure to like and follow and subscribe, and we'll see you guys real soon. Take care out there.